People don't hate you, they test your boundaries without even realizing it. The real question is, how will you answer? Listen carefully. In this world, the people who get stepped on the most aren't stepped on because they're stupid. They're stepped on because they're too transparent. And that's not an opinion. It's a pattern you see everywhere, at work, among friends, in relationships. The moment you become an open book, anyone can flip directly to the page that hurts you the most. And here's a question that should send a chill down your spine in the first 10 seconds. If you disappeared from their lives today, who among them would respect your absence, and who would quietly take advantage of it? Now here's where the contradiction becomes dangerous. People love to say, "I value honesty," but in reality, they follow the person who knows how to control the image, not the truth. You're not living among facts alone. You're living inside perception, reputation, eye contact, body language, and a silent system most people never notice: power dynamics. If perception turns against you, all your skills suddenly become a burden. But if perception works in your favor, even your mistakes begin to look like confidence. And this is where things start to get interesting. What you're about to hear isn't soft motivation. This is a practical lesson in dark psychology and social intelligence. How to read what isn't being said. How to recognize psychological manipulation before it traps you. And how to control your reaction before someone else controls your fate. And if you've ever experienced this before, someone smiling in your face and betraying you later, or someone less competent quietly taking the opportunity you worked for months, then you already understand something most people learn too late. Kindness alone isn't enough. Write this in the comments right now. I choose to be strategically intelligent, not emotionally impulsive. Let it be a commitment. And let me make one thing clear. This knowledge is for protection. Protection of your boundaries. Protection of your reputation. Protection of your mind from impulsive reactions. Not for harming others. Because power without conscience always ends the same way. It devours the person who holds it. Now, let's open the first door. But be warned. Once you start seeing the game, you can't unsee it. And somewhere in the middle of this video, you may feel slightly uncomfortable. That's normal, because you'll begin recognizing situations you once called coincidence that were actually tests. Imagine this scene. You're sitting in a meeting. Someone with less experience than you is speaking confidently, throwing around impressive terminology, and the room is nodding along. Inside, you're burning, because you can clearly see the mistakes. The weaker version of you interrupts. You correct them. You prove you understand better. The result? The atmosphere shifts. Suddenly, you look emotional. You look competitive. You look disruptive. And later, you discover something surprising. The same person, the one you defeated with logic, said one sentence to the right person and walked away with the opportunity you've been chasing for months. That's when you confront an uncomfortable truth. Truth without influence becomes free confession. And that's why we're going to walk through 8 ruthless rules, inspired by Machiavelli, refined through Robert Greene's laws of power, balanced with Stoicism to keep you grounded, challenged by Nietzsche to understand the gray areas, and sharpened by Jung to reveal the shadow within you before the world does. Rule number 1, deliberate ambiguity. Not lying, not acting, not cheap manipulation. Calculated ambiguity. Because most questions aren't questions at all. They're fishing lines. Someone asks you with a friendly smile, "So, how are things going with the boss? Seems like something's happening." The question sounds harmless, but underneath it's scanning 2 things: how close you are to power and what you're chasing next. The weak response opens everything. "Yeah, we talked about a promotion and I'm working on this project, but I'm worried about this." And just like that, you've handed them a complete map of your ambition and your fears. The stronger response is short, calm, closed. Work is moving, but it's still too early to talk about. Then you gently reverse the frame. And you, what's been keeping you busy lately? Notice something important. You didn't lie. You simply refuse to play the victim's role that says you must answer everything. Ask yourself something honestly. Why do you feel the need to apologize while answering questions? That feeling is often the first sign you're exposed. Pattern interrupt. Every time you catch yourself over-explaining, pause and ask, am I explaining to clarify or explaining to gain sympathy? Because sympathy quietly destroys authority. Deliberate ambiguity also works in social situations. Someone asks you in front of everyone, so what's the plan for your life? Are you traveling, getting married, switching careers? The weak response turns into a live interview. Dreams, fears, plans, all broadcast in real time. The stronger response stays respectful but incomplete. There's a step coming, and when it's ready, it will show. Then gently shift the frame. But I'm curious, what do you think is the most important move for someone our age right now?
Now the conversation becomes an idea, not a confession. This is the deeper purpose of deliberate ambiguity. It's not hiding information, it's controlling timing. Because once information leaves you, it never comes back. But there's a danger here. Ambiguity without grace becomes arrogance. You don't want to appear dismissive. You want to appear composed. And that's why rule number 2 must stand beside it, the adaptive personality. Many people confuse being authentic with being effective, but they're not the same thing. An adaptive personality means speaking the language the person in front of you understands, without selling your principles. You are not the same person with your friend, your boss, and your mother, and that's not hypocrisy, that's intelligence. The difference is simple. Instead of pressure forcing you to change, you hold the steering wheel. Imagine speaking with an analytical person. Every story you tell is interrupted by one question. Okay, but what's the number? What's the result? The weak response assumes disrespect and adds emotional drama, losing the listener. The stronger response reads the signals: steady eyes, minimal expression, precise questions. This person wants structure. So you respond simply. I'll summarize it in 3 points and 1 result. Now imagine the opposite, an emotional communicator, raised voice, words like I feel, I'm stressed, this is heavy. The weak response throws statistics at them. Now you sound cold. The stronger response blends empathy and clarity. I hear how heavy this feels for you, and that makes sense. Then you guide the conversation towards solutions. You're not performing. You're translating. Pattern interrupt. The person who proudly says, I'm brutally honest with everyone, is often avoiding the discipline of reading people. They hide laziness behind the phrase, that's just who I am. But life doesn't negotiate with that phrase. Life breaks, that's just who I am, until you grow. Adaptive personality also allows you to control the frame without announcing it. Most problems aren't about the solution. They're about how the solution is presented. The same sentence, spoken with the wrong tone, sounds like an insult. Spoken with the right tone, it becomes leadership. This is where Machiavelli and Robert Greene quietly meet. Most people judge a leader by the image that reassures them, not the truth that unsettles them. So keep one core identity inside and many expressions outside, like a diamond. But remember the warning: if adaptation steals your principles, you collapse, because you lose yourself. You adapt the style, not the values. And that brings us to the harshest rule of the 8, strategic indifference, or in simpler terms, detachment. You're not a stone, but you're not a slave either. Detachment means you can love without dependency, work without begging for recognition, choose without fearing loss. Because here is the brutal truth. The person with the greater fear holds the weaker power. This is especially visible in negotiation. The one who needs the deal gets sold.
The one who has alternatives buys. Imagine your partner softly says, "If things keep going like this, I might leave." Your heart races. A voice inside whispers, "Apologize quickly, fix this now." The weaker version collapses.
Please don't leave. I'll do anything. Just tell me what to do. And just like that, you handed away control. The stronger response pauses, silence, then calm clarity. I won't keep someone through threats. If something is bothering you, we can talk. If you choose to leave, that's your decision. That isn't cruelty. That's boundary protection. And manipulation collapses the moment it loses access to your fear of loss. Stoicism teaches a simple principle. Focus on what you control. Release what you don't. What you control, your response, your dignity. Pattern interrupt. Some people confuse detachment with emotional coldness. But coldness is the absence of feeling. Detachment is feeling without surrendering your freedom. Now let's bring this into the workplace, because work reveals human behavior faster than anything else. You walk into your boss's office asking for a raise. They say, "The budget is tight." The weak response shrinks immediately. "Okay, no problem. Anything small is fine." You just announced you have no leverage. The stronger response stays calm. "I understand the pressure. Let's look at the results. Over the past 3 months, I delivered this and this. The outcome was this. What would need to happen for a raise to become a logical decision for both sides?" Now the conversation shifts from pleading to negotiation. And if the answer is still no, you don't collapse, because your value isn't tied to their approval. Now we arrive at rule number 4, the silent lever. Most people believe power comes from speaking loudly, but reality works differently. Quiet power suffocates nervous power without touching it. The silent lever means you don't push directly. You arrange the environment so pressure forms on its own. And the first tool here is powerful: silence. Imagine someone says in front of others, "Oh yeah, that's him, the genius who thinks he knows everything." Your body heats up. Your instinct screams, "Respond now." This is a social dominance test. The weak response laughs nervously and explains. The stronger response waits 2 seconds. Silence spreads through the room. Then you calmly ask, "Would you like to explain what you mean?" Now the pressure shifts. If it was innocent humor, they'll clarify. If it was disguised hostility, they stumble. Most will retreat with, "Relax, I'm joking." Then you apply a technique called fogging. Agree slightly, without defending. "Maybe. I do like understanding details." Then calmly close the frame. "Should we continue?" The poison disappears. No fight required. Because some people feed on emotional reactions, and when you refuse to react, the game collapses. The silent lever works in business too. Your boss says, "I need an answer right now." The weak response rushes. Mistakes happen. The stronger response pauses briefly, then calmly says, "I'll give you a complete answer in 10 minutes." Even silence can reset status. Pattern interrupt. More words do not increase value. Sometimes they expose it.
The silent lever also means becoming a solution rather than a voice. Someone in a group chat writes, "Where's the work? Are you all sleeping?" The weak response explains everything. The stronger response stays concise. Delivery is at the agreed time. If something urgent comes up, send it. No drama, just clarity. Over time, this builds quiet influence because people begin associating your presence with resolution, not noise. And here we reach the midpoint of this conversation. And this is where a dangerous trap appears. The trap isn't manipulating others. The trap is manipulating yourself. Once you learn the mechanics of power, your mind may begin seeing manipulation everywhere. Suspicion grows, tension rises, and slowly you lose the natural rhythm of life. Carl Jung called this the shadow, the hidden part of your psyche, jealousy, fear of rejection, the hunger for validation that quietly drives behavior from beneath the surface. Pattern interrupt. Sometimes the most dangerous opponent in your life isn't the person across from you. It's the ego inside you, desperate to win at any cost. So ask yourself honestly, the last time you were humiliated in public, were you protecting truth or protecting pride? If the answer isn't clear, you need rule number 5, psychological mirroring. Most people listen with one goal, to respond, but powerful communicators listen for something deeper, to understand. Psychological mirroring turns you into a conscious mirror. You reflect the need behind the words. And here's why that matters. Every person you meet carries 3 silent questions. Do you see me? Do you understand me? Do you value me? The moment someone feels those questions answered, trust appears, and trust is the fastest path to influence. Imagine a friend says, "I hate my job." The weak response jumps straight into advice. Quit, find something better. The stronger response reflects the hidden emotion. It sounds like you feel undervalued there, or like you're not growing the way you should. And suddenly, they pause, because they feel seen. Then you ask something deeper. What's missing most right now? Recognition, challenge, or stability? This isn't manipulation, it's awareness. In a meeting, someone accuses you. You always delay delivery. The weak response argues with data. The stronger response reflects emotion first. It sounds like the delay is putting you under pressure with management. That makes sense. Then ask the real question. What would help restore control right now? The anger dissolves because the real fear wasn't the delay, it was their image. Pattern interrupt. People rarely move because of the reasons they announce. They move because of the motives they hide. But a warning must come here. If you use mirroring to exploit someone's vulnerability, your reputation will eventually collapse. And that leads to rule number 6, gray morality. Life is rarely black and white. Often the choice is between bad and worse, or difficult now and disastrous later. Machiavelli observed this clearly. Sometimes what appears merciful is actually weakness, and what appears harsh may protect everyone involved. But Stoicism adds a crucial correction. Virtue is disciplined action, not performance. Here's a simple test. If your decision protects only you while harming innocent people, that's not gray, that's selfishness. If your decision feels uncomfortable but prevents greater damage, that's responsibility. Imagine leading a team where one member lies to clients. The weak leader says, "Let's give him another chance," just to appear kind. The stronger leader intervenes immediately. "We need to stop this now." Firm, direct, respectful, but decisive. That's leadership, not cruelty. Now consider a personal situation. A friend asks you, "Tell them I was with you." The weak response agrees to avoid conflict. The stronger response stays loyal but honest. "I'm with you as a friend, but I won't lie. Let's find a better way to fix this." That's healthy gray morality, not naive heroism, not moral betrayal. Pattern interrupt. People may dislike your boundaries today, but they respect them tomorrow, because people instinctively respect what cannot be manipulated. Now we arrive at rule number 7, controlled exposure. We live in a world where everyone shares everything. Problems, plans, weak moments, private intentions. And then they wonder why they feel vulnerable. Controlled exposure is not secrecy, it's awareness. Every relationship deserves a different level of access. Your inner circle sees more. Everyone else sees what is necessary. At work, the weak strategy reveals everything immediately. All skills, all effort, all energy. And suddenly that person becomes an available resource.
The stronger strategy reveals capability gradually, one skill, at the right moment, during a crisis, and suddenly that competence looks far more powerful. On social media, the same principle applies. Every post becomes a fragment of your public identity, and people assemble those fragments into a judgment. You don't need to disappear, but you must choose deliberately. Pattern interrupt. One of the most dangerous mistakes you can make is giving your enemy the material they need to harm you, especially when you hand it over willingly. Keep a protected space in your life, untouched, private.
Because that hidden space protects your stability when the rest of life becomes chaotic. And now we arrive at the final and most relentless rule: results obsession. Most people enter arguments to win debates. Strategic thinkers enter conversations to win outcomes. A small difference, a life-changing one. Someone says, "You're wrong." The weak response argues immediately. "No, I'm not." The battle begins. The stronger response asks something unexpected. "What result are you trying to achieve with that?" Instantly, the frame shifts from ego to objective. When attacks are shallow, another tactic appears: agree and amplify. Someone says, "You overthink everything." The weak response denies it. The stronger response smiles. "True, I can overthink things so much that we might waste time if we don't focus. So let's define the goal. What exactly do you want?" The attack loses its energy, and the conversation returns to purpose. Results obsession also frees you from the addiction of reacting. Some people provoke you just to see if you can move you. Sometimes the strongest response is no response, or a delayed one. That isn't weakness, it's timing. And now we return to the promise made earlier, the 10-second test. It's simple and surprisingly revealing. The next time someone asks you for something you're uncomfortable giving, extra time, effort, sacrifice, say calmly, "I can't right now." That's it. No explanation, no justification. Then observe. If they respect the boundary, they respect you. If they push harder, "You're selfish, you never support me." That's emotional manipulation. At that moment, you don't need an argument. You return to everything we discussed: deliberate ambiguity, adaptive personality, strategic detachment, the silent lever, psychological mirroring, gray morality, controlled exposure, and results obsession. Because results obsession doesn't turn you into stone, it turns you into the leader of yourself. And here's the philosophical paradox that ties everything together. Machiavelli showed us the world is not filled with angels. Robert Greene reminded us power dynamics exist whether we acknowledge them or not. Nietzsche forced us to question the masks morality sometimes wears. Stoicism taught us real control lives inside. And Carl Jung warned that the shadow, when ignored, eventually takes control from behind. So the equation becomes simple. Believe you're an angel, and someone smarter will exploit your kindness. Believe you're a devil, and you'll destroy yourself chasing power. Real strength lives somewhere in between, walking the edge without falling. Choose one of these 8 rules. 7 days. Practice it. At work, at home, in conversation, even in silence. Observe people. Observe yourself. And most importantly, observe your shadow. If this video awakened something inside you, if it reminded you of a moment when you were the victim, or a moment when your reaction almost destroyed you, write in the comments which rule affected you the most. And when did you experience that moment where, once you saw the dynamic, you could never unsee it again? Subscribe, because this journey into social intelligence and dark psychology is only beginning. But we approach it with one principle above all: strength within before strength in the room. Because in the end, the most dangerous person in any room isn't the one who has nothing to lose.
The most dangerous person is the one who understands the game, understands themselves, and refuses to be manipulated ever again.